Well, howdy. Welcome back to RC Restomite. Um, Guys, I was kind of in a bind. I was thinking about, man, I need to put out a video. It's been like 3 days, but I've got like three half-done videos that I can't do until something happens to where I can finish. And on top of that, I was an idiot because I went out and acted as the race director at a RC off-road race on Saturday, and I didn't even think about my GoPro, taking my GoPro and getting some footage and giving you guys some really cool race footage like I would have been able to do if my GoPro had been with me rather than sitting on top of my computer. So anyway, what we're going to do today, I thought, what in the world would people be interested in seeing? And I thought you might be interested in seeing on basically how deep my addiction goes. I know there's probably a lot of people watching that have a much deeper addiction than mine, and probably a lot with less than one. I'm probably right about in the middle, but I'll just kind of show you what I've got, and I'll begin with updates. Update number one. Update number one is Voorhees. That's what we decided to call this one because it was owned by Jason before, and obviously the toughest, meanest Jason ever was the one from the Friday the 13th movies. Voorhees is getting scratched up on the roof pretty good because I keep putting him on top of there and the handling is terrible. Gonna have to figure that out. I haven't done it yet. If you remember on our street bash, one of the screws came out that holds the rear upright to the camber link, so the wheel was laying over. I fixed that, put some Loctite on it, so that shouldn't happen again. Probably the next time it goes out, the purpose will be making some suspension adjustments to try to make it handle better because it definitely needs it. But this thing's a lot of fun and it's not ever going anywhere. It was the first thing we built on this channel, so it's kind of precious to me. And Voorhees is going to be with me forever. All right, next up is our Kyosho Phaser. I did get to take this thing out and street bash it. I've got footage. You'll get to see that. With other cars. If you've watched my channel, you've got to see it run around the tennis court. But this thing, it's pretty good. It's not as fast compared to other cars as I thought it might be. Even though that motor's huge, it's an RTR motor, so it doesn't just make the quick spin up super big power like a race grade motor would. And unfortunately, my friends have some Traxxas cars that do have those kind of motors in them, and they're insane and kind of cool. But this thing actually handles well. It's not particularly fast, but it drives well. It's a lot of fun. I like everything except for the paint job on the body. Maybe I'm just too old to like crazy random patterns and stripes, but I would actually prefer a solid color on this thing. Anyway, maybe we'll get a new body, maybe we won't. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But the RC club I'm in was, matter of fact, right now everybody's kicking around ideas for our first on-road race, and this will be participating. It's got the cute little sticker I made with my logo across the back window in that foil red, and it may get some cool foil red numbers on a white background. It won't be the classic round or like, white oval with a black number on it, because that's kind of old school and this car is anything but that. But it may get a foil 776 with a black outline or something like that. We'll probably make a numerical door sticker for it before we take off and race it. Anyway, that's where we're at with this one. The Triple S still looks exactly like it did the last time you saw it. I've talked with Josh Allen, who's my friend. He's probably going to throw the paint on it. We've come up with a pretty solid plan for painting it. We just got to get it done, and I'm going to try to pursue getting that done pretty quickly, because in about a week and a half we have an opportunity to either race it at a dirt track up near Abilene or show it in a car show here locally. I'm kind of leaning towards the car show right now, just because I think that it's a better audience for this channel than a bunch of racers that already know a lot about RC cars, because I kind of intended this as a way to teach people new to the hobby things. And most of the guys that'll be at the WFO series race probably already know much more than I do, so I don't really have anything to teach them. So I don't know, that's still up in the air. We'll kind of see how that works out. All right, next up is this. This was my racing two-wheel drive short course truck. It started out as an Associated Trophy Rat, and I'll try to insert a picture right here, if I can get that done. But the problem with that body, while it looks fantastic, it looks like a 37 International pickup, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. A, I didn't want to tear up that body, and replacements were a bit pricey. And B, in the heat of the summer, we race at night at our track, because it'll be well over 100, 105, 106, 107 degrees in the summertime during the day. And so we'll wait and start the race in the evening when the temperature's starting to drop, and then race into the night when the temperature drops off into the mid to high 80s. And first night race, that basically camouflage color of patinaed and rusty dark green was just invisible at the track. So I was looking on AMain's website, and they had this Ford Raptor body, and I'm a Ford guy, but they had this Raptor body on clearance for like 25, 26 bucks, something like that. So I bought it, and I bought the bumpers and Nerf bars from the base kit that this is based on. This is basically Associated's version of a two-wheel drive Slash. It's a rear motor, two-wheel drive. Battery sits right down the middle of it. It's very, very similar to a Slash. Looking at the way it's put together and just the quality of some of the components, it's a little nicer than a Slash, but it's also a little more expensive. So it all works out. Future plans for this one, we're talking about, actually we have planned in a few weeks, we're going to do a double header race. It'll be off-road during the day and then oval in the evening. And the day race is going to be all 10th scale. And that'll bring back the two-wheel drive short course trucks. I'm not sure. I'm going to try. I think I'm going to try and run it. If it's anywhere near competitive, if it's like a fair competition, because we may run it with spec Slash, which means I'll probably need to put factory tires back on it. These would be cheating. But if I put factory tires back on it and I can kind of keep up with them but not blow them away, then, I mean, my skill level won't let me blow them away. But if down the straightaways it's just, if I'm super fast on the straightaways and then terrible in the corners like I anticipate I will be, then probably what we'll do is do a video where all this goes back to being a trophy rat, which is just a fun basher. But that's what's going on with this one. I know you've seen it in the corner of my videos several times, and people probably wondered what this was. Well, that's what it is. It's an Associated short course truck with a, I think it's a J Concepts Ford Raptor body on it. Along the bottom, this is some stuff I bought off Amazon that's like a steel, it's for shelf edging. It does have stainless steel inside of it. It's very strong, and it's kept the body from cracking. The only place it's cracked is right in here where I have trouble making the stuff stay on. The rest of it, it's been wrecked and wrecked hard on many times, and this has protected it. There's actually some stuff called body armor that's actually made for RCs. If you're a crasher like I am, I'd recommend getting you some. It actually does a good job of saving your body. Alright guys, this one this one's very precious to me. It was actually given to me. There was a gentleman named Charlie Blanton. Charlie Blanton. I met him through the Jeep Club, and we were instantly good friends. And shortly thereafter, we were like best friends. He was there was just something about that guy that he and I connected super quick. And Charlie passed away. And while I was helping his widow move out of the house that they shared, and she told me that she wanted me to have Charlie's RC car. This is it. He had it for years and babied it, and I've continued to do so. I've driven it a few times, and when it was in a parade, my friend Brian Hyman, who you've seen at I've interviewed him on the How to Race video, and then we also did the when we were doing the street bash, he was there as well. He had a cigarette lighter, and we heated up the flag poles so that the poles would bend out slightly, and when it goes down, when it drives, these things just flap in the breeze like a real monster truck. It looks fantastic. But that's all I've done to it, is attach the American flags. And Charlie was a huge patriot. On his Jeep, we built some, for parades, the Jeeps around here have flag poles on the back, and Charlie and I built his flag poles right out in my driveway. They're 10 feet long. Yeah, his Jeep would go along with two 10-foot poles with glorious polished brass knobs on the end, and then he had a huge American flag hanging off one and a Texas flag of equal size hanging off the other. It was majestic to behold. But yeah, every time I see this car and think about it, I think about my good buddy Charlie and miss him a little bit. So this one's not going to get bashed. It's not going to get torn up, and it's not going to get modified. It'll get maintained as needed and kept really nice as long as I'm its custodian. Miss you, bud. All right, guys, this is my Traxxas Bandit. The body is a J Concepts replacement. It's the only other Bandit body that I could find for, to keep it as an off-road buggy. We used to, for one season, we had a Bandit class at the off-road track, and I believed then and still believe that one of the problems we have getting people to come race is there's a bit of a paywall. You go out there, you watch a race, and you think, man, those 8-scale buggies are so cool. They're like flying through the air, and the guys can make them change, and you're like, man, I think I'd really like to have an 8-scale buggy. And then you can't find out it cost about $1,000 to get a nice 8-scale buggy. And then you try to drive one, and it's not easy. Those guys make it look easy, but it's not. So I thought a really good bargain basement entry would be Bandits. They're 2-wheel drive. They're very inexpensive, and they're pretty fun to drive. They're slow, but if you can be consistent, you can dang sure make some good lap time. You can turn some pretty consistent laps with them. But anyway, when I got this one, it had a pink body, and some people at the track were making fun of me for having a pink car, so I built this one to be a bit sinister. This logo is from the old Skull Bandit NASCAR from the 70s and 80s. I just kind of stole that and printed up on the Cricut in black. It's got Traxxas up here. Other than that, it's just charcoal gray and kind of subtle and evil, which was a whole different ball game from the factory pink, white, and black setup. But a lot of people like the pink. I'm not going to diss it, but it's a little more my speed. This would suck to race at night, though. Back in those days, we just ran in the daytime. That wasn't a concern. And my eyes were a little younger then. But anyway, that's my Bandit. All right, guys, about a year ago, I had an epiphany. And that epiphany was that not all good ideas work. This is a good idea that didn't work. This is a WL Toys 10th scale buggy. It's got 4-wheel drive, a metal chassis. It's brushed, so I thought it wouldn't be able to hurt itself too bad. And I thought this would be really cool to take to the track, and I can practice driving without messing up my race cars. And the parts for this are just nearly free, but they take a month to come in. And I found out it's just a little too fragile to be jumping off the big jumps and such that we had. Now that we're doing the on-road thing, I may put some on-road tires on it. These are burn up anyway, so I may put some on-road buggy tires on it, see how she does. But other than that, if that doesn't work out, if it turns out that it's not good at on-road either, it's going to basically be a shelf queen until it goes away in a garage sale sometime or another, because it's been a bit of a disappointment. But anyway, that's what my 10th scale 4-wheel drive buggy is. All right, guys. These are number 8 and number 9 of my little addiction here. These are both Latrax pre-runners manufactured by Traxxas. Latrax is their entry-level bargain line. And shortly after I bought my first RC car, I thought I need to do something to entice some of my friends to get into RC cars. So I have somebody to. This sounds so juvenile, but I wanted somebody to play with. It was before I found the RC Club. May have been about the time they came into existence. But anyway, I bought these two thinking that if somebody came over and I said, hey, you want to play RC cars? And they're like, yeah, sure. That we could have a matched pair, because I couldn't afford a second one that's as good as what my first car was. But I thought 2 of these matched would be a lot of fun, and they are. These things are a ton of fun, and they handle good on-road and off. They're pretty neat little trucks and highly underrated, I do believe. They're good little fun trucks. And if you get a chance to pick one of these cheap somewhere, like you find anything, the Latrax stuff is all pretty much the same under the skin. The parts are basically free. Like new motors are $10. The only thing that's pricey on them is the ESCs. And our RC Club participated in a thing called Touch a Truck, where kids get to come up and they learn about all different kinds of trucks. And they had fire trucks, and the police had their SWAT vehicle out, and the Jeep Club had their Jeeps there, and the concrete companies, and all these different kinds of trucks. And we set up a booth, and we were talking about RC trucks, and we were letting little kids drive the minis, the little small ones. And during that day, this one didn't have any problems at all, and this one burned up a motor and ESC. They failed and even let some power smoke out. So I bought a new motor, but the ESC was kind of pricey. I don't remember the price, but I thought it was a little too much. Anyway, I went on Amazon and looked around, and I found a Hobbywing ESC that fits this one. We'll go ahead and pop it open. Now, this little Hobbywing Quick Run, it was less expensive than the factory Latrax one to go back in it. It fit inside the car, and the red one's faster now. It's got a little more amperage than what Latrax put in its stock, but you can see how simple these are. And if you break an A-arm, which place I used to work, one of my coworkers' kids came up and he saw me driving my big one, and I said, hey, you want to drive this one? So I handed it off to him. I think it may have been this one. Anyway, like 15 seconds later, he ran into the tire of his mother's Tahoe and snapped off one of the A-arms. And the guy was like completely shocked that I basically laughed it off and told him, said, here, and handed him the other one, let him go with it. But I bought new A-arms, and I think I got all 4 of the lower A-arms down here. They're the same front and rear. and I think it was $4 for all 4 of them. Like I say, the parts on these are just almost free. And if you want to trip your friends out, something I discovered is that if you pull these body pins, these body posts out and flip them around and put them in backwards, then the body fits backwards and you can drive at full speed this way. First year I ran at our off-road track, we had a class for minis and I raced this one, and one day I did that. I raced it with the body on backwards. Everybody enjoyed it, laughed their heads off because it just looked so silly funny going backwards around the track. But it was confusing for me. Every time I crashed, I'd try to make it go the wrong way for a second before I could get myself gathered up, get my bearings straightened out. So I put it back the correct way and haven't switched it around since. But that's something that's that's the kind of fun these are. They don't cost anything to fix, so you're not worried about breaking them. You can just have a grand time with them. Anyway, yeah, this number 8 and number 9. This is about halfway through my collection, so we're just going to stop right here, and I'll pick this up another time. This has been part 1 of Jim's Dirty Little Secrets and his horrible addiction. It's not so horrible, it's great. Anyway, if you had a good time checking out my little cars, or you see one of them that you might like to, if you have questions about any of them, do you like this or that about it? Where do you find parts for this or that? Let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to tell you anything I know about any of them. But a like and a subscribe would not go amiss. And anyway, thanks a bunch for watching, and we'll catch you next time on RC Restomod.